so guys, what we can have, if I talk about like the topologies, right? So we can have few types of topologies. Okay. The very first one we can say is the bus topology. The second one we have is ring topology. Third one we have is star topology. The fourth one we have is mesh topology. The fifth one we have is mesh topology. So guys, any idea about these topologies? Anyone? Dave, Manmohan, Pooja, Renis. Anyone? Any idea about these topologies? Okay, I'll start with bus topology. No worries.
So bus is, ring is like most like 5, 6 in a ring. Star is one is in between, and you are making point to point. Mesh is like all connecting devices connecting
To each other.
to each other, but not fully. Each and every device is not connected, and full mesh is each and every device is connected with each and every one.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Nice. And the full mesh then? Mesh and full mesh. What is the main difference here?
I assume that mesh each device is not connected to all. It's my assumption. Mesh
Okay.
normally I consider, and full mesh is everyone is connected. I'm not
Exactly
sure.
right. Yeah. Exactly correct.
Bus is using
Okay, so let us
wire
start with
sector.
bus topology. Okay, so when we say bus topology, right? So it will be having like a connection with the backbone cable. So we can say all the users will have connection with a backbone cable. Okay, it is like, I'll just draw a diagram. Let's say we have few users here. They want to communicate, right? So what I'll do here, I'll use a cable over here. So that is called as a backbone cable. Okay. Now let's say this user want to do a communication, right? So what I'll be doing here, I'll be just connecting a cable over here. Now, okay. First of all, we have the cable, we have the users, right? Now what I need here, two things I need here to make this communication possible. One is your T connector, okay, and one is your terminator. So guys, anyone, any idea about these things? What is T connector? What is terminators? Any idea?
Terminator we will use at the end of these main cable
Mm-hmm.
on both end. And if I talk about T connector, so we will use this T connector to connect our PC device with this main cable, this backbone cable.
Okay. Yeah. So what happens here? First of all, to these users, whenever I want to connect these users, right? So I need to have a T connector over here. So we can say I'll be using a T connector over here. Okay. Same, I'll be using a T connector over here. Same, I'll be using a T connector over here. A T connector over here to connect these devices, right? Same here. And these T connectors will be like a tap, we can say. So let's say I want to use a new tap over there in the line, right? And I'll just cut the cable over there. I'll just cut the pipe over there, right? And I'll fix a new tap over there, right? So it is like that one will be inlet, right? One is your out and this will be your out, right? And here I'll be having the backbone cable and here I'll connect my normal user, right? So here we use the T connectors, right? And finally we use here terminators. It means whenever these users will try to do communication, right, the connection should not be lost, or we can say they should not have the we can say some issues in the bandwidth or anything like that, right? So what we do here, we finally connect terminators over here to stop the signals till this point. It means I don't want to I don't want any issues in the signals, right? So that's why here we connect the terminators, right? So we have two things, main things here. One is T connector and one is your terminator. Any questions, any doubt till this point? Anyone?
Sir, basically, which kind of cable we are going to use here as a backbone cable?
Okay, as of now, we never use these things. This kind of topologies we never configure, never. Okay.
That is fine, sir. But let's suppose if someone is asking a question like which kind of cable can we use between these devices to make this communication possible? So what are the type of cables can we use?
Okay,
Like
normal
we
coaxial
are
cable,
using.
we can say. Yeah.
Sorry, sir.
Normal coaxial cable.
Normal coaxial cable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So if you see this one, this is your T connector. It means here you will be connecting your device and this will be your backbone cable, right? And when we say terminators, finally these are your terminators where you will connect your final terminator to block the signals, to stop the signals. Okay. So these two things we use in the bus topologies. Any questions, any doubt?
So sir, do we have any kind of like port available in our PC device through which we can use this console cable? Oh, sorry, sir. This coaxial cable
Okay,
is
we
it
have to connect the connectors over there again to change the signals. Okay.
in our PC or laptop device, sir?
Yeah, right. So that was a previous technologies, right? So we might had those ports, but if I just talk about the connectors, so yes, we use the connectors over there or those
Okay.
converters.
Okay, converters. Okay.
Is it cable TV used the same like this?
Sorry. Yeah, Manmohan, your question.
It's
Okay. Now the
No,
next, yeah. Okay, so this was the bus topologies, right? Now, when we say the physical topology and the logical topology, right? So physical, what we configure, right? So these are physical topologies, right? When we say the logical topologies, it means how these devices are doing the communication. That is a part of the logical topologies, right? So first of all, what we do, we build a topology, or we can say a physical topologies. When we say about these topologies, right? So these are the physical topologies that we are talking about right now. Okay, logical is like how the device will be connecting. Oh, sorry, how the device will be communicating to each other, how they will be sending the packet out to each other. Okay, so that will be the part of the logical topologies. Okay, any questions, any doubt, anyone? Okay, next thing. Now let us move to ring topologies.
So 1 minute, sir. An example of bus topology
Sorry.
where we can use bus topology. An example,
Okay,
bus
please, when we
topology.
say the bus topology example, as of now, we never use. So we don't have any real-time example, okay? Because bus topology is obsolete, right? We never use bus topologies, okay? Or if I'll just talk about, let's say at the home, I want to connect to users, right? So I'll be using that bus kind of topology kind of thing, okay? So as of now, what we do, yeah, let's say if I'll talk about, I want to connect to users, right? Without a device. So what I can do, I can just directly connect the cable directly as of now, right? That's it, just like this, right? I can connect a cable, Ethernet cable directly to the laptops, right? And they can do the communication, correct? So that part we can do, but bus topologies now, in the real time, now that is obsolete. We do not use this bus topology, okay?
Sir, again, I do have a question here.
Hmm.
Let's suppose I'm going to create a network here, like
Hmm.
through myself. लाइक मैं सर एक छोटा सा कोई भी अपना नेटवर्क क्रिएट कर रहा हूँ लाइक मेरी एक छोटी सी लाइब्रेरी है या फिर एक छोटा सा कैफे है जहाँ पे मेरे को अपने 5 to 6 डिवाइसेस ऑनली वन कनेक्ट करनी है
Hmm.
एंड आई डोंट वांट टू परचेज एनी स्विच डिवाइस फ्रॉम द मार्केट लाइक मेरे को वो कॉस्टली पड़ रहा था, तो दैट्स वाई मैं यहाँ पे इस टाइप की केबल के थ्रू, केबल कंपैरिजन में स्विच के काफी ज्यादा चीप होगी, तो मैं इस केबल के थ्रू एक छोटा सा बस अपना ये नेटवर्क क्रिएट करना चाहता हूँ 5 या 4 डिवाइसेस का। और इसके लिए मेरे को स्विच डिवाइस मार्केट से परचेस नहीं करना क्योंकि वो बहुत कॉस्टली पड़ रहा है। Then if I'm going to use this kind of bus topology, so is it possible?
Yes, it's possible. No worries.
So sir,
Yeah, we
if
have
I'm
the
going
bus
to connect,
topology, right?
if I'm going to connect all these devices, so what kind of like a negativity here, like what kind of communication will be take place in the background?
Nothing. Nothing, bro. You can
सर
do the
as I know,
communication.
like बस टाइप टोपोलॉजी के अंदर सर यहाँ पे लाइक कॉलिजन के चांसेस बहुत ज्यादा हैवी होते हैं, कॉलिजन बहुत इजीली क्रिएट हो जाता है, ऐसा कुछ।
Okay, when we say collision, right? So what do you think about the collision? Last time we did about the collision, right? In what conditions we can have the collision when the devices don't have the concept of the RX and TX, right? Correct?
Yes sir.
So that's a part of the collision, right? Otherwise, if we just talk about the normal speed, right? So your interface will be having that capability to check the speed and kind of thing, right?
तो सर वही पूछने के लाइक यहाँ पे मैक्सिमम किस स्पीड के साथ मेरा डेटा यहाँ पे ट्रांसफर होगा बिटवीन द डिवाइस?
No idea, bro. No idea. That is obsolete. That is very fast technology, right? So no idea about that part. Okay.
ओके सर।
Okay. Now the next is your ring topology. All the devices will be connected here just like in a ring. So it is like, and what I need here, we need two LAN cards here to draw this topology. Okay, so basically when we say two LAN cards, LAN card, it means like by default what happens whenever I purchase a laptop or any device, right? By default that comes with a single LAN card, right? Now what I need here to create a ring topologies, right? I need to have one more LAN card over there, right? So we can have the ring topology. It means the device should have at least two LAN card to have the ring topologies diagram. Okay, so if let's say I do have a user, I do have a user, I do have a user, and two users are here, let's say, right? Now what I'll do here, I'll just connect the cables between each other, right? Just like between these two, between these two, between these two, between these two, and finally between these two. Okay. Now this is the physical topologies, right? Now they can send the data clockwise or anti-clockwise. It is like they might share the data directly from here to here, or they might be using a anti-clockwise mechanism. Okay, so in the physical topologies, yes, the topology is will be in the ring topology always, right? But when we say the logical topology in this one, right, so they can send the data in the clockwise or in the anti-clockwise. Okay, so now they have the 2 points of failure, we can say, right? If let's say this link goes down, right, what will be there? Now they can communicate via the other path. It means they have a point of failure. Yes, they have a point of failure, but they have alternate path also to make the communication. Okay, but if I'll just talk about here in the bus topology, they have a single point of failure, and once this backbone cable fails, right, the complete communication will be down. But here, yeah, I do have the other path also to make the communication. Okay, any questions, any doubt?
Who decide the data transfer will be in the anti-clockwise or clockwise?
That is depend on your routing part, what kind of routing you did, right? Because as of now, if I'll just talk about, let's say in my laptop, right, I can configure few static routes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so those static routes again depend. Okay, those statics you have to configure. Let's say you want to use the anti-clockwise, so you will be doing the configuration like this, right? The best path is via this way, the best path is via this way, and when this link fails, right, you can do a rerouting and you can configure it via this way. So that's a logical thing that you are doing, right?
Okay.
Clear, Trilo?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Sir, but can we do the routing in case of laptop devices, because we are talking about laptops and PC devices here in this example? So how we can like do the configuration about best path in case of laptop or PCs?
Yeah, you can just, okay. So you are asking the commands, right?
Yes, sir.
We have not studied any practical, right? So just wait for the practicals, right? And for the users for the laptop, you can just go to the Google and can just find out. Okay, so we'll be just talking
Okay.
about routers and switches, right?
नो सर, लाइक अभी जैसे हमारे पास इस एग्जांपल के अंदर ओनली पीसी डिवाइसेस के बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं,
Uh-huh.
लाइक मैं जस्ट ये कंफर्म करना चाहता हूँ कि पीसी डिवाइसेस के अंदर भी राउटिंग पॉसिबल है सर?
Yes, yes,
ओके,
possible. Yeah. उसके पास भी एक routing table होती है. That's a layer 3 device. Any layer 3 device will be having a routing table always.
ओके सर.
Okay, Dilip, any questions?
No, sir.
All good? Okay,
Yes, sir.
guys, just 1 minute. Okay, now the next is your star topology. Okay. So what do we do here? We use a centralized device. Okay, so we use centralized device here. So that will be a switch. Okay, so now let's say I want to connect few users. User number 1, user number 2, user number 3, user number 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Now these devices will be having a connection directly to a switch. Okay, and all these devices will be connected via Ethernet cable. So cables, we have not done any discussion, I think, right? So after these things, we'll discuss about the cables and the color coding, everything. Okay. So now, if you see, this is the physical topologies, right? And now when we say the logical topology, right? So any of the device can communicate to any of the user directly. It means what happens actually here, all these users will be the part of the same subnet, right? So they don't need any kind of routing over here. They just need to do the communication and they can communicate to each other. Okay. So this is your star topology, and in most of the companies we use star topology. It means all the users, all the print, everything, basically all the devices will be connected via a switch always. So we can say 95% cases, yes, we use the star topology. Okay. And but here what we have a single point of failure, right? If this switch fails, right, the complete topologies will be down, or we can this complete communication will be down, right? Any questions? Still is fine. Dilip, Manmohan.
सर अगर मैं यहाँ पे राउटर यूज करता हूँ, सो इट इज आल्सो द पार्ट ऑफ स्टार टोपोलॉजी,
No,
because the communication will be possible in case of router as well.
that's not a star topology then. That is something else.
Okay.
No, no, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now there is a mesh topology. Okay. So in the mesh topology, the device will have one or more connection to the devices, but not to all the devices. Okay. So they will be having connection to one or two devices, right? But not to all the devices. So we can say, let's say I'll connect device number 1. And these can be any devices, because when we say the mesh topologies, right, we use in the ISP design, right? Let's say we have few devices, they want to communicate to each other, and we have few customers connected to the last devices, right? So what we can do over there, at that time we use mesh or full mesh. So we can say whenever we have ISP design, So in that condition, we try to use the mesh topology. Okay. So let's say I'll just put two connections over here. Okay, this way, two connections this way, two connections this way, two connections this way, right? And one might be this way. Okay, so this is how this will be the mesh topology. Okay, so in this condition, what we have here, we can say if one link fails, right, I'll be having other path. If other link fails, I'll be having one more path available, right? Same if I'll just talk about the full mesh topology. All the devices will have connections to every single device. That's a full mesh, or sometimes we call it hybrid topology. Okay, so it is like now all these devices will have a connection to all of the devices, just like this. Okay, so this is how the device will be having the connection in the full mesh topologies. Okay, so guys, any questions, any doubt till this point in the topologies overview?
No.
In the industry point of view, like which is the reliable one? Like कौन सी टोपोलॉजी हम लोग मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम यूज करते हो, कौन सी टोपोलॉजी इनमें से रिलायबल वन है सर?
देखो मैंने जस्ट अभी ये लाइन बोली थी ना,
ओके
आई थिंक यू आर नॉट इन द क्लास। अभी जिस मैंने बोला 95% केस में हम स्टार्टअप यूज करते हैं, राइट?
ओके
95% केस में।
ओके सर, एंड इफ आई टॉक अबाउट सर रिलायबिलिटी देन
व्हाट काइंड ऑफ रिलायबिलिटी?
like if my connection goes down, so like the multiple path, okay, that is a full mesh, yes, okay, fine sir.
Okay, so guys, anyone any doubt? So we have done this part, right? So anyone any questions till this point? All good? Okay, now whenever you talk about, okay, so we know, like, we have done a discussion about the switches, we have done a discussion about the routers, right? So whenever yeah,
One question in where you mentioned 95% of we used star topology.
yeah.
So in customer premises, will be a mesh of star topology, or it will be only a single star topology?
Okay, yeah, exactly. So look here, we can have two types of design. One can be the customer design, one can be the ISP design, right? So when we say the customer design, most of the cases we just use a startup. We can say 100% case of the customer design, right? We use a startup topologies, and then finally one of the edge device will have the connection to the ISP, right? Correct.
Yep.
And that might
Yeah,
have a different. Let's say, yeah, Manmohan, any question?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah. So when we have, let's say, multiple design, or we can say, let's say that the single customer itself has multiple floors or multiple use cases that has. So that can have multiple star topologies in the inside, right? Because finally, whenever the customers or the users will be connecting, right, they will always connect via a switch, always, right? It means we can have 2 or 3 star topologies over there in the same customer network, but yes, it means we are saying star topology. So yes, star is there, right? Okay. And when we say ISP design will always have just like mesh or full mesh, always.
सर वन मोर क्वेश्चन,
Uh-huh.
लाइक सर अगर मैं एक स्विच के साथ राउटर कनेक्ट कर रहा हूँ, राउटर के साथ अनदर राउटर कनेक्ट कर रहा हूँ, एंड देन सर ये राउटर जब आ जाता है मेरी टोपोलॉजी के अंदर, सो ये कौन सी टाइप की टोपोलॉजी का मेंबर होगा सर?
That is nothing. Again, मैंने अभी बताया ना आपको कि वो मल्टीपल स्टार टोपोलॉजी इनसाइड होंगी और राउटर अगर ऊपर है, that is nothing. That is just a network. Okay.
ओके ओके सर.
Okay. Now the next thing. Okay. Now what about the cables? We have the discussion of the ports. We have the discussion of the cables, and Yeah, let's talk about the cables first of all. Then we can move to the ports. Okay. So when we talk about the cables, right? So we in the design we can have a switch, we can have a user, we can have a router, right? It means we can have these three types of devices, correct? PC, that's a L3 device. So guys, as of now, this L3 term, this L2 term is clear, right? Layer 3 device, a router, that is a layer 3 device, a switch, that is a layer 2 device, right? So guys, if you have any doubt in these terms, please ask. I'll try to explain as of now, because yes, we are pending with the OSI model, right? But as of now, just basic understanding why we are calling this a layer 3 device, why we are trying to call this switch as a layer 2 device. That part is clear to everyone. Simran, Sandeep, Trilok.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So guys, basically these devices are working on the layer 3 and on the layer 2. So we can say PC and router, they works at the network layer, and your switch that works on the data link layer, right? Don't worry, again, once we'll start the OSI model, we'll talk about these layers. Okay. Now, when we have these combinations, so now how many combinations we can have? Only two combinations we can have. One layer 3 will device have a communication to another layer 3. Okay. And one layer 2 device can have a communication to other layer 2 device. One more, we can have a layer 3 can have a combination to layer 2. Okay, so this kind of design we can have in the network, right? Okay, so these combinations we can use. Now we have to look out like which cable we'll be using here. So when we say a cable, when we say a cat6 cable, right? So that has few pairs, right? So as we know, as we have done in the RX and TX, right? So a single cable will have four pairs. Four pairs, it means they will be having 8 combinations, or we can say 8 pins will be there, right? Out of them, okay, now I'll just talk about the color coding, right? So we can have two types of cable. One will be your, okay, if I'll just say orange or orange white, blue or blue white, brown or brown white, green, or we can have green. So we can have these cables, right? Anyone, any other inputs here? Anyone? Okay. Now, when we talk about these colors, right? Which pin will be using, which color will be using, right? Now we have two things. One is your 80A standard. One is your 80B standard. Okay. So any idea about those standards? Anyone, or anyone is having experience in those things?
One is Indian standard, one is US standard, sir.
Sorry, come again, Dilip.
One is Indian standard, one is US standard, sir. A is a US standard, B is a Indian standard, sir.
Okay. Okay. And
the color code will be changed in the A and as well as B.
okay. So any idea about the colors?
Yes, sir. I think A will be coming white, orange, and blue.
Okay.
So that is a will come, sir. So B is a orange, orange white will come, sir, starting.
Okay. And
1 second, sir.
okay, I'll talk about 801A, 801B. Okay, you just need to learn one color coding. Okay, only one color coding. Okay, so orange, white, orange, green, white, blue, blue, white, brown, white, brown. Okay, guys. In the starting, we did one thing, like we used only two pairs, right, to do the communication, right? So we had a discussion about the other two pairs. or not?
Not sir.
Okay. So basically what happens, guys, when we talk about the other two pairs, right? Those we use for the power over Ethernet switches, right? Let's say what I want here, let's say I do have IP phone, right? And in the IP phone, I don't want to connect other external power, right? So what I can do over there, using the Ethernet cable directly, we can connect and we can give a power. But at that time, we should have a switch that supports PoE interfaces. It means power over Ethernet interfaces, right? And then using those pins, right? Using those other two pairs, the device can send the packet, sorry, the device can send the signals, or we can say those power input to the device. Okay, it is clear.
सर वन पॉइंट अगेन
uh,
सर ये जो कलर कोडिंग के स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं एज आई नो दैट इज 568A एंड 568B. अभी मैं इंटरनेट पे भी चेक कर रहा था तो सर 801 करके नहीं दिखाई दे रहा
oh,
मेरे को.
my mistake, that's a 568, right? Okay, that's a 801 is a different kind of thing. You can ignore 801. Okay, this is a different standard. Okay, you can count 568. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, other questions?
नो सर.
Okay. Okay. Now, Dilip, you were asking something. All good. Okay. So now when we talk about those other two pairs, right? So we use those two pairs for the signals to provide the electricity for the other devices, right? Just like IP phone, it means, let's say I do have a switch, and that switch is a PoE switch, we can say, right? PoE. Okay. The switch is not a PoE switch. The interface with the PoE interfaces. Okay. A switch itself can have, let's say, that has 24 ports. Those are without PoE, and 4 or 5 ports will be there for the PoE only, right? It means a switch will not be a PoE switch. The interface will be PoE interfaces. Okay. So we are using PoE interface switch, right? That will be connecting to your IP phone, and then you can connect your laptop or your device. So this connection will be there, right? It means your laptop will have its own power, right? But IP phone, if you see, IP phone does not have its own power, right? We have to connect the adapter over there, but I don't want to connect the adapter over there, right? So what I can do over there, I can use directly the PoE interface, right? Those pins to give the power to the IP phone. Okay, I hope this is clear, right?
सर जस्ट एक जनरल क्वेश्चन है कि लाइक आईपी फोन में वैसे अडेप्टर का कोई ऑप्शन होता है सर?
Yes.
ओके.
Okay, so we have this color coding, right? 568B, right? So that's the orange, white, orange, green, white, blue, blue, white, green, brown, white, brown, right? Now, using the same color coding, what I can do, I can use a combination, or I can create a combination of 568A, right? So just remember one thing, which pin we use. Any idea, guys? What is the pin number? As we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which pin numbers, which those 4 pin numbers we use for the communication? I think we did this part in the very starting. Any idea?
1 2 3.
Anyone? Sorry?
Sir 1 2 3 6.
Okay. And how those are connected?
Like one will be connected with
RX and DX.
second one. First one is connected with second one.
Okay. 1 and 2 will be connected to 3 and 6. This is like,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, and 6. Okay. Now what happens here? You have to make a communication between 1 and 3 and between 2 and 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and 6. It means like, now this 1, if I'll just draw the number over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So 1 I have to replace with 3, and 3 I have to replace with 1, right? So it is like, this will be here and this will be here. And 2 and 6 I have to replace. So this will be here and this color coding will be here. Okay, and the remaining one will be just like normal, because these we use 4, 5, 7, and 8 we use for the
IP points.
POE. Okay, now whenever I will say this color coding, right? So now I do have the 568A color coding, that is green white, that is green, that is orange white, then it will be blue, blue white, and then finally orange, then finally brown white and brown. So these color coding we have for the 568A. Clear? So guys, any questions, any doubt till this point? Because these are the codings that we have that we will be using to create some cables, some combination cables. Okay. Any questions, any doubt till this point?
So why are you using A and B, sir? What is the difference between A and different B?
Okay, when we say, okay, in the next step, we will be using some color combinations, or we can say we have some straight cable, we have some cross cable, right? So at that time, we need this color coding. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
we need two standards over here to we can say to have those cables. Okay, the cross cable and the straight cable.
Okay.
सर एक जस्ट एक बहुत छोटा सा डाउट था मेरा
Uh-huh.
सर स्विचेस के साथ हम लोग रियल टाइम नेटवर्क में अपने कैमरास को भी लाइक कनेक्ट करते हैं सर
Uh-huh.
ओके दैट्स इट सर
Okay. Dilip, your question is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Now, when we say the cables, right? I do have the straight cable, and we do have the cross cable. So when we talk about the straight cable, I can use a combination of at both end 568A and 568B. I can use, okay, you can say 8A and 568A and 568B and connected to 568B. So whenever we use these combinations, so these are basically your straight cable combination. It means the first end will be your 568A, the other end will be your 568A, or 568B, the first end, and the last end will be your 568B. Okay, it means this will be your straight cable. But when we see the cross cable, it means what you have to do, you have to connect 568A to 568B. So the first end will be your 568A and the other end will be your 568B. Then you can have the cross cable, and here you can have the straight cable. Clear? Any questions, any doubt? So now few lines. Whenever we have same layer devices, we use cross cable. Okay, and whenever we have different layer devices, we use straight cable. Okay, so whenever we have the same layer devices, we use the cross cable, and whenever we have a different layer devices, we use the straight cable to do the communication. Okay, reason being again RX and TX, you know about the RX and TX, right? So if the switch will have a RX and TX above, right, the other device or the other layer device can have the below as a RX and TX, right? So that's why here we have this combination, right? Any questions, any doubt? Jayad, any questions from your side?
I'm not able to get the straight cable. You mentioned 568A connected to 6A.
Uh-huh. Okay, let me explain. Yeah.
Um,
Let me just pick these color coding. So I'm just trying to pick a color coding that is 568B. Okay. Let's say I want to create a straight cable. So what I can do here, I can use the same color coding on both ends. It means the front end will be having this color coding in the sequence: orange, first of all, orange, white, orange, green, white, blue, blue, white, green, brown, or brown. And same here, the other end cables will be having the same combinations. Okay, and then I'll just connect here to the device. Okay, that's straight cable. Okay, Manmohan.
yeah.
It means here we have a cable. Okay, and they are connected with the same combination. It means the pin here we have exactly on the first number we have the same pin. That's a straight cable. Okay, Manmohan.
That I got, but I was got confused with this. The main you mentioned the 568A will be connected to 568A. That was
Yeah, this one, right?
yes.
So this is the first combination and this is second combination. It means in the straight cable, we can have two combinations. One, I can use this combination or I can use this combination. Okay. Any of the combination I can use for the straight cable. Because again, if I'm talking about 568B and B, it means again on both end. If I talk about this B, in the other end we have the green white. Other end we have the green. Other end we have the orange white. Other end we have the blue. Other end we have the blue white, right? It means exactly the same color we have at the other end also. Okay. So that's why here we have two combinations. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Actually, okay.
So that's a or we can say slash. Either I will be using this one or I'll be using this one. Okay. But here in the cross cable, I can have a single standard, a single cable. Renis, any questions?
Yeah. How about rollover cable and how it's come?
Okay, I'll come to the rollover cable. Don't worry, Renis. So that's the part rollover cable we use for the console, right? So once I start a discussion of the ports, I'll come to that port. Don't worry. Okay. As of now, we are talking about the data transfer, right? So I'll come to the point. Yeah, Jayad, any questions from your side?
So not question, but like in, at the time of troubleshooting, like if we are performing in the DC or the local side, so we just only said you need to connect the straight cable or the cross cable. So that time, in the troubleshooting, that color coding, this will not work, right?
Okay, yeah, Jayad, good question, right? What happens actually when we say the old design or the previous devices that we had, right? Previous non-smart device. So those devices were using just exactly like, let's say if I'll talk about a switch, right? That is using first pin as a RX and the second pin as a TX, right? So this will always remain same in the non-smart devices, right? Same here. Once I'll connect to other, let's say I do have a switch. The switch will say exactly same combination even I do have, because we both works at the same layer and we both are same thing. It means I will be having here RX and I'll be having here this TX, right or wrong? So in that condition, if the devices are non-smart devices, right? So I have to use here cross cable. That's a mandate part. But nowadays, what we say, what devices we use, those are smart devices. Okay, what they do, they have all the interfaces on the negotiation mode. Okay, so they do a auto negotiation. It means that really doesn't matter. Let's say you are having the same design. Let's say this one. I will use a switch in the front of another switch. Now what we call it, if I'll just talk about a non-smart devices, right? So I have to use a cross cable, but let's assume by mistake we are using a or intentionally we are using a straight cable. So what happens at that time? We know the colors are same, fine. It means let's say one cable this I am using and one cable this I'm using. Now when we see the smart devices, they do not have these value as fixed values, this RX and TX. So let's say this switch will send the very first packet from this pin. Let's say not from this pin, let's say TX. So what happens here? They are working on an auto negotiation, right? This will say, oh, you are sending first, fine, I'll be using this as a RX, and now I'm using this one as a TX. I'm sending to you, so please use that as a RX. Okay, so they auto negotiate this RX and TX. Okay, and if I talk about the all design, the non-smart devices, they were using exactly a fixed combination, but now we don't have a fixed combination. We have the negotiation mode, right? It means they will negotiate. It means nowadays that really doesn't matter. We are using same layer device or we are using different layer device. Okay, what we can do, we can use any combination of color coding in any type of device combination. Okay, it is clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so but again when we say, let's say I'll write my exam, right? So in the exam I have to exactly answer in this way. Okay, In the exam, I have to answer in this way, but in the interviews, in the real-time network, you can implement this one. Okay. But in the exam, you have to write exactly the same thing. Okay. What
Got it.
combinations we use.
Yes.
So do you have any idea when did this change it to smart negotiable?
So you're talking about the number of year.
Yes, sir.
No, Dilip, that kind of idea I don't have. Okay.
So nowadays, these smart devices uses a technology that is called as MDI, medium dependent interface.
No idea. That's concept of the script, right? The script is a smart script, right? And they auto negotiate which one will act as a RX and which one will act as a TX. Okay. Jad, your question is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Any guys, any doubt till this point? Manmohan, Ranis, Rohan, any questions?
सर एक छोटा सा लाइक यहाँ पे है डाउट छोटा सा काफी टाइम से क्लियर नहीं हो रहा था सर लाइक मेरे पास दो स्विचेस हैं सेम वेंडर डिवाइसेस हैं अगर मैं ऑल टाइम टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में बात करता हूँ सर तो यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा समझना था कि लाइक टीएक्स और आरएक्स का किस तरीके से कॉम्बिनेशन काम करता है एक ऑल टाइम डिवाइसेस के प्रेफरेंस से सर
या एग्जैक्टली सेम मैंने बताया ना आपको यहाँ पे अगर मेरे पास स्विच है उनके फर्स्ट 2 RX होंगे सेकंड 2 TX होंगे so I have to use a cross cable so this RX should be here connected to TX and this TX should be connected to RX then only they will work right
और सर अगर दो मेरे पास डिफरेंट वेंडर के डिवाइस हैं लाइक एक राउटर एक स्विच कनेक्ट है तो वहां पे कैसा होगा ये आरएक्स टीएक्स का कॉन्सेप्ट थोड़ा सा सर क्योंकि वहां पे तो हमारी केबल जो यूज होगी
देखो वहां पे फिर ऊपर वाला TX होगा नीचे वाला RX होगा राइट and I can use a straight cable then TX to RX and TX to RX okay
तो सर कौन से डिवाइस में ऊपर वाली पिन आरएक्स होती हैं एक स्विच में या एक राउटर में ये थोड़ा सा मैं कंफ्यूज हो रहा हूँ सर यहाँ पे
okay again bro like we do not use nowadays we don't use these devices that's in the concept only right so you can assume any of the combination okay even in the question paper nowhere they will ask like just tell exactly the fixed values okay never okay so whenever we have the things in the concepts only right and the things are obsolete right those are not fixed now right we
नाउ
can
सर अभी
assume
अगर मैं
about
एक
those
हब
things.
डिवाइस के बारे में सर एक हब डिवाइस के बारे में बात करता हूँ तो आई होप हब डिवाइस में कॉन्सेप्ट अभी भी काम करता है
Look, Shailendra, we did the last time. The hub does not have the RX and TX concept.
ओके
That even does not support those things.
ओके सर
Guys, please, before the next class, just go through with the previous class, right? That is very mandate. Otherwise, the questions you are asking, definitely those are from the last classes, okay? So please revise the previous classes, right? So you might have some new questions, some good questions, okay?
So one more thing. So last time the upload is coming online, so it was stucking for me actually. So I can't able to view the full session.
Okay, Dilip, no worries. Just call me after the session, okay?
Okay,
We'll
sure.
fix it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we have done the color combinations. We have done the cabling type, right? And we have done the whenever we have to use the combination, right? So which combination I have to use and how they will be working, right? Cool. Next thing here is now let us talk about the interfaces. The interface is present on the devices. So guys, most of your guys are working in the companies, right? So just tell me about the very first, the second interface, the third interface. Just tell me the numbers, the names of the interfaces.
Ethernet, fast Ethernet.
Sorry, Jia, again. The very first one is
Ethernet.
Ethernet. Okay. Second.
Fast Ethernet.
Okay.
Gig Ethernet.
Anyone? Okay, let me put the gig also. Dilip Manmohan, can you add something here?
Yes, sir. 10 gig is there. 10
okay.
gig Ethernet is there. Fiber is there.
10 gig.
Serial interface.
Okay, serial. Guys, I just want to know the unique things, right? Serial. Okay, when we say 10 gig, 20 gig, 40 gig, we can have, and we can have, when we start from the gig interface, we can have the SFP. that is fine, guys. Right now, do not discuss more than 10 gig. Right, just talk about the other interfaces. Okay. Now after serial,
aux port, sir.
aux port. Okay.
And USB, sir.
USB. Okay. And
सर दिस इज नॉट लाइक अ पोर्ट बट मैंने एक डिवाइस पे देखा था सर, लॉक करके लिखा रहता है, एक लॉक के लिए स्पेस होता है सर,
that is
L
nothing.
के
You can ignore it. Yeah. And what we can add here?
EOE.
Console port.
Console port. Okay. That should be the very first port, I think, right? Because that's the very first port that we use to do any of the configuration for the interfaces, serial or anything. That should be the first port. Okay. And one more we have.
EOE.
EOE. That comes again under these interfaces. That's the capability of the interface, right? That is fine.
वैसे तो एक failover port भी होता है, but वो सब devices में नहीं होता ना?
वो सब में नहीं होता, right? Failover, we can see, let's say if I'll just talk about the router and switches, we don't have the failover.
F5 और Palo Alto में.
हाँ, वो तो other vendors हो जाते हैं, right? Okay. One we can have when we talk about the high-end devices, right? High-end switches and the routers, we have the MGMT port. Okay.
Management port.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just mark down few things here. Okay. These first 5 interfaces we use for the data transfer. Okay. Aux we use to manage the device using console port, USB we use to install OS, to take a backup. Okay, now how to take a backup, how to install OS, right? So yes, that's a part of the journey, right? We will talk about these things. Console port to access the device using console cable. Okay, or we call it Renis now, that's a rollover cable, right? Console cable is nothing basically. Console is a port, cable is a rollover cable. Management to access the device using
The network.
Using in the network, right? Using the network configuration. Okay, so we can say that's a L3 management port. Okay, guys. First of all, before going in the deep of these things, just tell me any doubt in these 5 lines, 4 and this 5. Any questions?
No, sir.
Trilok, Deep, Manmohan, Pooja, Renes, anyone? Shailendra, Simran, Jayad.
The console you already mentioning in the point number 8, but auxiliary to manage the device using console board.
Okay, what happens? I'll explain this part why I'm putting here this console port. I'll talk about. Okay, I'll talk about this part.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone?
लाइक हम यहाँ पे डेप्थ में डिस्कस करेंगे सर ऑक्स पोर्ट के बारे में कि लाइक कैसे ये कंसोल पोर्ट के थ्रू मैनेज होता है.
Yes.
ओके.
Depth, depth. The things is like there are 2 or 3 lines, right? There's no depth. If I just talk about a console port, there's no depth, right?
We're talking about aux port only.
Yeah. Exactly same way. Depth. It is not like we will be spending like half an hour or 1 hour. No.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
we very few things here we have about these ports,
Okay.
because we are just managing the device, right? And when we talk about the manager device, so we have 2 or 3 lines to discuss, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Any questions, guys? Okay, now let me start. So guys, when we say the data transfer, right? So if I'll start from Ethernet, right? So that can have 10 MB speed. Okay, when we say fast Ethernet, okay, we can have 100 MB speed, right? When we say more than gig, we say, right, in the gig we can have 1 GB, right? Now those ports would be your Ethernet port or would be your SFP port, okay? Any ports that can have. So that 1 gig port can be your Ethernet, 1 gig port can be your SFP port. That's a fiber port basically, the fiber cables we use, right? Now when we say the 10 gig, right, and more than 10 gig, right, so we'll be having the SFP ports over there. For these ports, 10 gig, 20 gig, 48 gig, right? So for these ports, we'll be having always the SFP ports, okay? And we use these ports to do a data transfer. But when we say a serial port, right, this we use for the data transfer, but the thing here is, okay, let's move again back to these ports. These are basically multi-axis segment cables or ports. It means on these ports we can have multiple devices connected. Let's say we have a router. The router has a port that is fast Ethernet port, right? What I can do there, I can connect a switch over there and I can connect multiple devices. It means using a single fast Ethernet or gig Ethernet port, right? I can connect multiple devices, right? It means that's a multi-access segment port, okay? But when we talk about a serial, first of all, the speed that is 1.54 Mbps speed, right? And this will always a point to point link. So point to point only between routers. So the serial port we always get only on the routers, not on the switches. Okay, so that is the reason here we cannot say that's a multi-axis, that's a point to point link always, right? And we can have a router connected on the front of the router only. Okay. Any questions in these 5 first ports? Any questions?
सर वन क्वेश्चन आई है लाइक सर अगर मैं गिग पोर्ट्स के बारे में बात करूं या एसपीएफ पोर्ट्स के बारे में बात करूं सर तो मैक्सिमम कितने स्पीड तक के पोर्ट्स देखने को मिल सकते हैं एक रियल डिवाइस पे सर?
When we say gig, that's a 1 GB, right?
ये मतलब 10 गिग 1000 गिग कितना लास्ट सर मैक्सिमम?
Okay, I have seen 1 TB last. Okay.
1 TB, okay,
Yeah.
sir.
The DCs has those things, but when we talk about the customer design, we might have last 10 gig in the customer design, or might be 25 gig last. In the customer design. Okay, any questions, any doubt till this point? And Shailendra, when we talk about the last limitations or when we talk about the last capabilities, right? About
Yes.
these things, you can directly go to the internet, right? You will be having the exact answer, or because when we say the capability or the last speed limit, right? So there's no limit, I think, because every time, every few weeks, after a few months, right, we have some new things in the market, right? So
Yes,
we
sir.
can't commit like we have a limit over there, okay?
सर बट सब कुछ चीजें ना ऐसी इंटरनेट पे सर्च करो उनके आंसर इतने टिपिकल से दिखाई देते हैं कि लाइक पता ही नहीं चलता एग्जैक्टली डिफरेंट डिफरेंट वेबसाइट पे डिफरेंट डिफरेंट आंसर अलग अलग तरीके से.
Again, exactly, because we have multiple vendors, right?
Yes,
In the
sir.
market, we have multiple vendors and they are offering a multiple kind of things, right? So we can't say interface will be having a limitation, right? We might have more than 1 TB, might be, right?
Okay, sir.
So when we say limitations, we have multiple vendors in the market, right? And they use their own standard and they create some other capability. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, want to know something more about serial port?
This is about the serial only, bro.
Like router के केस में यूज होगा point to point link. That is it.
That's it. Only router case में. We don't have this on the switch. Okay. Nothing.
But what is basically it is working for a serial port because 1.5 Mbps is of it's very less bandwidth to
Yeah, again, as of
taking
now,
the
when
data.
we say, yeah, the new design, right? So again, the serial is obsolete, right? So earlier, now, like we can say the 90s, right? So that time we were using the serial port to do the communication, to send the packets out to the devices only, right? But nowadays we never use the serial port. But yes, that was only to use the data transfer, okay? Because serial we use for the data transfer, okay? So if you have any previous device, some old device, you can use, right? Using a serial port, you can use, but the speed will always be 1.5 for Mbps. We don't have any other use of the serial because that's a data port. So we just send the data using the serial port. Okay, Manmohan? Only for the data we were using. Only for the data.
वैसे आज के टाइम पे जो अपडेटेड वर्जन के राउटर्स आते हैं उसमें सर सीरियल पोर्ट्स अभी भी देखने को मिलता है?
No.
Okay, sir.
Never. Because we are just if we are getting, we are wasting the slot.
Actually, there is some switches. Is there serial port to like console what we are doing?
Okay, Renis, when we say the switch is serial port, right? So that serial, or we can say those we use for a different kind of purposes. Okay, and those serial are not this serial port. Okay. Okay.
Okay. This is for
It's
like
one minute.
console
This
you are
one.
telling, no?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Jay, you are asking something, or Renis? Guys, anyone of
Yeah,
you who are
yeah.
asking? Yeah.
This serial port we are using for the console configuration.
No. Again,
Switch.
data transfer. This is for the data transfer. Okay.
So ये question में जैसे
just one. Renis, this is clear to you? This is for the data transfer. When we say console, right, I'll come to this point. Okay, what kind of serial you are talking about, I'll come to that point, right? But as of now, we are talking about a data transfer, the real packets we are sending between devices. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, Jay, your question.
तो जैसे SFP है, ठीक है ना, SFP पोर्ट तो कई बार मैंने देखा है कि मेल्स चल रही होती है कि SFP चेंज कर दो, वो पोर्ट पे कुछ प्रॉब्लम है। तो जैसे मैंने गूगल भी किया तो एक अजीब सा कुछ डिवाइस सा दिखता है, छोटा सा कुछ होता है, तो एग्जैक्टली कैसे लगा होता है ये, मतलब?
Okay, that's a kind of USB. Okay, let me show you. If you see, let me open this one. You see, first of all, these are the interfaces we have, right? These are Ethernet ports we have, RJ45 connector, right? And these are SFP. You see, just like a brick kind of thing we are putting here, right? So these are the things that we have, the ports we have, and then the cable, the slot. This slot we put inside. When we say Ethernet connector, so we use a connector. This is your SFP connectors, and we change these connectors basically. When we say we have the issues, right? We try to change these connectors, okay?
So
Connectors even get faulty.
normal user can change, right? Anyone can remove.
Anyone can change. Yeah, anyone can change.
सर वन मोर क्वेश्चन है
हाँ।
सर, ये SFP जो पोर्ट्स है सर, इसमें केवल हम लोग लाइक फाइबर केबल्स ही यूज करते हैं सर?
Okay, yes, बाय डिफॉल्ट फाइबर केबल्स यूज करते हैं, राइट?
बट सर अगर मैं इथरनेट केबल के बारे में बात करूं तो इथरनेट केबल में भी हमारे पास कुछ कैट केबल्स ऐसी हैं जो लाइक 40 Gbps तक की स्पीड देती हैं। लाइक अगर मैं बात करता हूं कैटेड केबल के बारे में, तो वो 40 Gbps तक की स्पीड देती है।
We use converters then.
Okay.
These SFPs go to 1 Gbps. Now you can have in place of this, you can have a Ethernet connector also on top of.
So if I'll show you.
So there are SFPs with normally, in this type.
If you see this SFP is a converter basically.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, JR, your question is clear now.
Yes, sir.
So basically in networks, we go with 1 gig SFP, which converts it, which is having an option of optical as well as electrical, but going onwards, like 10G, 25G. So in network, it always is, LC connector and optical connection, no Ethernet connection.
Correct.
अगर हमारा 10 GB से ऊपर की स्पीड है तो वहां पे हम लोग इथरनेट पोर्ट यूज नहीं कर सकते।
Sorry.
सर जैसा कि कैंडिडेट ने शेयर करी इंफॉर्मेशन,
Directly port, no. We go for the SFP then, right? Why we have SFP? Just because of those things, to increase the speed, right?
So in that very condition, we can use the fiber cables only. अगर 10 GB से ऊपर की like ports हैं then.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
See, these SFP also work in different reach. So you have a single mode and you have multi-mode also.
Exactly.
Yes, I know.
Multi-mode is a short range and
yes.
Then accordingly.
Yes, about like a 500 meter, or a single mode it can be 10 kilometer.
Yeah, so within the same on-premise, you connect with SR, and if it's 10 or 40 kilometers, so you go for LR or ER type of reach.
Okay. All clear, guys, till this point. Any questions?
Yes, sir, for me it's clear.
Okay. Jayad, any questions? Trilog, any questions? Simran, Sandeep?
No, sir, all good.
Okay. Now let us talk about, first of all, this console port. Okay. When we say console port, right? So which cable we use? That's a rollover cable. Okay, that's a rollover cable. And when we say the rollover cable color coding, right? So we do not configure these cables, right? So we just get the pre-configured cables, right? And this rollover cable, we never try to build or we never try to punch those cables, right? We have the rollover cables, right? And the rollover cables we connect directly to the device. Now, when we talk about the rollover cables, how those will be? The cables will be the front end will be your RJ45 cable, and the other end will be your a serial port. Okay, when we serial, that is not about the we are talking about the data. That's a pod basically, right? Or we can say a connector kind of thing we have. Okay, so when we say the rollover cable, right, the one end will be your RJ45, the other end will be your serial port. Okay, when we say, let's say I do have a PC, right, on the computers, right? So we had those serial ports, but nowadays when we talk about the laptop, Manmohan, any question? Okay.
Yeah, so serial port mostly like D-type connect.
Yeah, okay, let me just finish it, right? Just let me finish it. Okay, so when we say PC, yes, on the PCs we have the serial port connector. That's a DB9 connector over there, right? And in the laptop we don't have the serial port. So what we do over there, we use a converter that is from serial port to USB. It means the laptop will have a USB, will not have a serial port, right? So that time we connect a USB directly to the laptop, right? And we use a connector over here to connect the serial to serial, and then finally the device can have the access to the this device, right? So if we have a PC, we can directly connect that cable to the device, right? But if you have a laptop, right, so we have to use two cables. One is your real cable, the real rollover cable with a serial port, right? And another converter from the serial to USB that we have to connect to the laptop, right? So let me just try to show the pics of these cables. This is the cable, the rollover cable. Okay. So one end, if you see, that's the RJ45 that I'll be using to connect the device, right? One I'll be using to connect my computer. Okay. So this serial is a 9-pin connector. So this is DB9 connector. If you see 5 and 4, 9, yeah. So this is a DB9 connector, right? We have 9 pins over here, right? And then if I talk about how to connect to the laptop, right? So we have a converter also. You see this one, right? So what do? We connect this serial to that serial port, right? And this port to my laptop. Okay. It is clear, guys. You see this one, this combination. I'm using a port, console port here. Console port is connected to a serial, and here we have the USB to serial adapter, right? And that is connected like this, right? You see this port. This is how we connect a laptop, or if let's say we have computer directly, I can directly connect this RG for this DB9 adapter to my device. Okay. Any questions? Any doubt in this one in the serial port? In this port, Renis, your question is clear. You were asking about the serial port, right? A serial cable, right? So that's a serial cable we have. The one end will be your serial 8 DB9 connector. Okay.
सर यहाँ पे टोटल 8 नंबर्स ऑफ केबल्स अवेलेबल होती हैं एंड कलर कोडिंग सर अभी मैंने यहाँ पे प्रीवियस स्लाइड में देखा था कि लाइक कलर कोडिंग यहाँ पे टोटली अपोजिट होती है दोनों केबल्स के अंदर।
Yes.
तो सर यहाँ भी आपका जो भी डेटा सेंड हो रहा होता है वो 8 की 8 केबल के थ्रू ही सेंड होता है या फिर यहाँ भी ऐसा कोई कॉन्सेप्ट है कि लाइक ओनली 4 केबल्स के थ्रू यहाँ पे कमांड्स वगैरह की
Okay.
इंफॉर्मेशन सेंड होती है?
Okay, again, those are not the part of these things, right? Or we can say we never check those things, right?
Okay.
So we just send the signals and we just receive the signals. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And we don't have any PoE concept over, nothing we have here. Those concepts are only for the data transfer, not
Okay.
for this. We just send the signals, we receive the signals. That's it. So guys, Renis, your question is clear. Oh, Renis.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we can say the very first time when we connect a user, or when we try to connect a device and want to configure it, so we need to use console port, and then only we can do the base configuration. Okay, so whenever you want to do a base configuration like IP address or anything, right, you have to start with the console port always. Okay, so we have to start with the console port always, then only we can do some configuration over there and can do the network access. Okay, so this was about the console port. Any questions, any doubt, guys? All good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, let's take a break of 10 minutes. Okay, then we'll start. Okay.
होती है। किया जाता नहीं मासूम
Okay, guys, shall we start? Hello.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have done the data transfer, we have done the console port, fine. Now, okay, this USB. When we see the USB on the devices, right? These ports we use for the OS upgrade, for the OS installation, for the data backup, no data backup, we can say the configuration backup, because in the routers we can have the configuration, right? Configuration backup we can take. So whenever we need these three things, right? The OS installation, the backup, right? OS backup, even the configuration backup, right? So whenever we require these three things, right? So we have this extra option to do that part. We can have the OS upgradation or installation or OS backup, config backup. We have other ways also, right? But if I just talk about the USB, that's one of the method that we use for this task. Okay, it is clear. Any questions, anyone? Okay, next thing. Now let us talk about the aux port. Aux port we can use to connect multiple console at a time. It is like, okay, let's say I'll just draw a diagram. Okay, in the diagram I'll just try to do something and we'll see what difficulties we have over there, right? Let's say I do have a router, I do have another router, I do have third router, and I do have the fourth router. Okay, and I'm having here a laptop, and I want to connect that laptop to my console port. Okay, so I want to connect this laptop to the console port, right? So what I'll be doing over there, I'll be just using directly a cable directly to the console port. It means a cable from this to router console port, right? So now let's say I want to configure router number 2 or I want to configure router number 3. So whenever we need to configure any of these routers, right? So what I have to do here, I have to reattach the cable from here and have to connect here. And whenever same, let's say I want to configure this device, right? So I have to reattach the cable from here and have to connect over here, right? Correct, guys? So in this condition, what we are doing here, we are trying to reattach the cable and connecting to the other port of the other console device, right? So what we can do here to resolve this issue, we can just simply say my aux port will be having connection to this one using a rollover cable, right? The aux port will be having connection to other console port. My aux port will have a connection to other console port. It means now, first of all, once I'll connect this console port, I'll be having access of R1. Fine. It means right now on my screen, what I'll be having R1 CLI access. Now, once from the R1 CLI access, I will try to access my own aux port, right? So from here, I will try to access on aux port. So once I'll try to access my own aux port, right? What I will have actually, I will have R2 console port access. It means now we are inside R2 CLI access here, right? And once from the R2 CLI access, whenever I will access R2 aux port directly from the device, right? I will be having access of R3 console port. So it is like I'm taking access first of all directly from the user to my this console port, right? Once I'll access directly this aux port, I will be having access, or we can say I'll be having CLI of this router, right? Same while doing the configuration here, right? If I try to access this port, this aux port, right? I will be having actually the access of this console port, and in same way, and once I'll press exit from here, I'll be having this CLI. Once I'll say exit from here, I'll be having this CLI, and once I'll exit from here, I'll be having this CLI. Okay, so this is how we use the aux port. Okay, any questions, any doubt?
Sir, first of all, like which kind of cable we are going to use between the routers here?
That's a rollover cable basically. Okay,
Rollover
and we
cable.
have to create a rollover cable. Yes.
और सर ऑक्स पोर्ट और अगर मैं लाइक एक राउटर नंबर 2 के कंसोल पोर्ट के बारे में बात करूं तो ये दोनों के दोनों पोर्ट सर RJ45
Yeah, that's why I said we have to configure it, the other end. We can say by default what happens on the rollover cable, we have the serial port, right? But we have to reconfigure it, right? We have to pick cables, right, and have to reconfigure that aux cable. Okay.
और सर एग्जैक्टली लाइक क्या क्या कॉन्फ़िगरेशन करनी होगी, थोड़ा सा सर इसके बारे में मुझे डिटेल में जानना था, लाइक मुझे लाइक के लिए.
Okay, we just first of all we connect the cable here, right? And we just try to access my line aux. Okay, when we say this is a line console, right? We just access my line aux. Okay,
line aux.
Yes.
तो सर लैपटॉप में
yeah, virtually we cannot do, right? Because that's a physical console port. Let's say if I just talk about console, even the console we cannot access, right? We do the virtually, correct? So when we see this aux port, right? So we have the line aux 0, right? So we access that line. Okay. Whenever we
तो
go
मेरे
for
को
the
लैपटॉप
CLI.
सर एग्जैक्टली बस मेरे को थोड़ा सा ये जानना है कि लाइक अगर मैं लैपटॉप के थ्रू कमांड चलाता हूँ एक फिजिकल डिवाइस के ऊपर तो मैं कैसे कॉन्फ़िगरेशन करूंगा, बस वो थोड़ा सा अगर पता चल जाता सर.
Okay, look. Whenever we are here, right? I'll just try to access my device. So directly once I'll connect here, I'll be having access of the console port, right?
Yes.
And we are accessing, let's say R1, correct? Now we are accessing R1. Inside R1, once you go for the line in the configuration tab, line aux 0. That's line aux 0, just like a line console 0, right? Okay, but again, bro, we have not done anything about the commands, right? Only you will get to know, the other guys will never get to know.
Okay.
Just wait for the right time. Once we start the practicals and those things will go for the lab part, right? That time you can ask these questions. Okay,
Okay, sir, no issue.
No one will get to know what we are doing.
Okay, sir, no issue.
Okay, so what is the logic behind this aux port? We just connect the aux port with a rollover cable, right? We create the rollover cable manually, right? And the both end we have to use with the rollover cable, and they will start working. It is like just vice versa, vice versa, vice versa, and I'll be having access of all these devices without detaching the console cable from a single device. Okay, it is clear.
So all these devices need to be in the same subnet, or we can have.
Okay, yeah. When we say subnet, right? When we access the console port, right? We don't have any subnet, right? We just have the access, correct? Using the console cable, right? Using a serial interface, we can say. In the same way, whenever I need to access the aux port, we don't have any IP configuration. That is just a configuration. Okay. Clear?
Yeah, but there is nothing command. Okay, this laptop is connected directly to the router, so it's understood. But who is aux? You are trying to get into router 2. So
Yes.
there is nothing required like how.
No, there. Okay, yeah. Again, when we say IP configuration, no, there is no configuration.
We can do ping of this router 2 directly. No, nothing required on the configuration side. It
Yes,
will be
nothing,
like
because,
the bypass.
yeah, when we say IP configuration, I need to take the CLI access, then I can do the IP configuration, right? Correct?
Yes, yes.
In the same way,
Yeah, I'm trying to say like when my laptop is connected to this console for router 1, and this aux is connected to the router 2 on the console. So this console 1 and aux 1 router on the router 1, this console 1 and auxiliary 1, these will be working as good as, you know, or this router will be working as a transparent to
exactly, we
router
can say, right? Exactly, correct.
2. Got it.
It means I'll be having CLI whenever, let's say, I'm accessing this one. It means I'm doing that directly the configuration on the R3 directly. Okay, that will just do a transparency. We can say whatever receive here, just send it here. Whatever receiver, just send it here. And directly it means the pushing where commands pushing out to this level. Okay.
Okay, I just.
Yeah. But again, nowadays we don't have that kind of requirement to do these configuration, because nowadays what we do, we take the network access, right? We take the management access, right? We just configure with the very first time the console port even, right? And then later what we do, we use IP addresses, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now the next thing.
सर अगेन वेरी लाइक नॉर्मल
हाँ,
क्वेश्चन सर लाइक जैसा कि हमें पता है कि आज के रियल टाइम नेटवर्क में हम लोग इस तरीके का सिनेरियो यूज नहीं करते बिकॉज हमारे पास डिफरेंट डिफरेंट प्रोटोकॉल्स हैं लाइक टेलनेट हो गया एसएसएच हो गया तो दैट्स व्हाई हम लोग इस ऑक्सपोर्ट का यूज करते नहीं है तो सर एक क्वेश्चन था कि लाइक अगर मैं थोड़े से अगेन अपग्रेडेड वर्जन पे जाता हूँ राउटर डिवाइस के केस में तो क्या वहाँ पे सर ऑक्सपोर्ट देखने को मिलते हैं अभी भी
sometimes yes, sometimes, but not
ओके
sure. Like when we say to the higher version of devices, no, because in the higher version of devices we have the MGMT port, a specific MGMT port. Okay.
ओके
Normally, we have man management port down nowadays. Often removing.
Yeah, when we say high-end devices, we by default we get the management port.
ओके सर
Yeah, and they have the pre-configured IP address, so we can just directly connect a laptop and can do. Okay, so I think console, the USB and the aux is clear to everyone, right? Now finally, let's talk about the management. When we see this MGMT port, right? So this management port we use to access the device using remote access method. Okay, it means that management port will have a pre-configured subnet, and we can have same subnet in laptop and can access it without using console. It means that's a layer 3 access of the device, and that's a dedicated one. Now the question here is why we need a dedicated port, right? Let's say I do have a switch, right? On the switch we have, let's say, multiple ports. I can use any of the port to do the configuration, right? To do anything basically, even to for this management I can use any of the port in the network, right? But why we have the specific management port, right? Let's say if I talk about a router, we can have, that's a logic, right? But when we talk about a switch, right, on the switch, why we should have the management port? Because already it has the other ports, right? The other ports, I can use any of the port as a management port, right? So why we have specific management port over there? Reason being here, on the switch, sometimes what happens, using some security features, using some protocols, the port can be down due to some violation. Okay, and when the port goes down, I'll not be having access to the management of the device, right? That's the reason here the MGMT port, management port we use, and on the management port, those protocols, those violations can never occur, never. Okay, only the switch ports we can have the those things, right? On the management port, that will always be up, right? We can say there will not be any violation on the port. We'll be having a single network over there, and only for the management access the devices can be connected over there. Okay, so that is the reason here we should have a management port on the switches. Definitely routers, yes, we might have, right? On the switches, if we have, that's a good part. Okay, the port cannot be down and we can access the device anytime. So guys, any questions in these 9 different ports? Any questions? Jayat, any question? Simran, Trilok, Sandeep?
तो जी मैनेजमेंट पोर्ट है
हाँ,
तो जैसे आपने बोला ये डाउन नहीं होगा
डाउन नहीं होगा. ओके, इन द टर्म्स ऑफ वायलेशन, उस पोर्ट पे कोई वायलेशन नहीं होगा. ओके,
मतलब जैसे अगर इंटरनेट चला जाता है एसपी की तरफ से तब तो कनेक्टिविटी टूट जाएगी ना हमारी रिमोट
exactly, but that is a that is network error, not a violation, right? Violation when say, okay, I'll just take example as of now. Okay, let's say I'll put a port security on all the devices, on all the interfaces, on the switch, right? In that case, if the port security detect a violation, okay, in that case, the switch port can be down, it can be in the down state, right? But the port security we never configure on the management port, right? It means those protocols, those features we never configure on the management port, but we configure on the switch ports. So that is the reason here. Sometimes we can have the violation and the port can be down, so the management goes down. It means I have to again go to the device, I have to take the console access and I have to reconfigure it. But if we have the management port on the device, right, the specific management port can be used to again access the device if any of the port goes down. Okay, clear?
यस सर
So like sir, MGMT port is acting as a backup path on a
No,
switch.
no, no, no. That's just to manage the device only, not a backup path.
Okay.
इसलिए जो डिवाइसेस मॉनिटरिंग में करते हैं वो मैनेजमेंट आईपी देते हैं ताकि मतलब यही कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट होगा ना इसका मैनेजमेंट
देखो, okay, when we see that management IP, right? So we have a router, we have a switches, right? So that is fine. We can have a switch port even, right? We can have any of the port, right? But dedicatedly, like if we have a dedicated management port, that's a good part, right? Okay. Because due to some reasons, a trunk port, access port can be down. Definitely, due to some violation, those ports can be down. And if let's say in the monitoring tool, I'm using a management IP as a that is accessed via the access port or any other port, right? So that those we can say we have the chances to drop the packets, right, or any issues we can have on those ports. But when we use the management port, we never configure any protocol. We never send the real data even from the port. Okay. So that port is just used for the management, but the switch ports we use for the multiple purposes, right? Clear here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Guys, Manmohan, any doubt from your side? Any question?
No.
Okay, great. Okay, and the ports we have done, this we have done.
So just one again, I'm going back to the color coding. So can you go?
Yeah, sure, definitely. This one or this one?
Yeah. So this 568A is the left one configuration and 568B is the right one.
Okay.
Coding.
If I'll just like this, okay.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Deep, Dilip, any questions from your side?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. So guys, today let's wind up here, right? So we have done the very basics, we can say, and from tomorrow we will start the OSI model. Okay. So we'll learn tomorrow. We will start the OSI. Okay. And guys, just before the OSI model, just do some homework we can see on the OSI model, right? And okay, first of all, tomorrow again the same thing. First of all, we'll discuss the doubts. If you have any doubt from from this class, right? And then we'll start the OSI model and just do a homework something about the OSI model, what it is, what it has, and because it will be like it will be a good learning that time. Okay, if you'll be having some prior knowledge in the same protocol, it will be a good learning.